Hello and welcome to SRIRAM's IAS. We all know that we have been into this series from past 2 weeks now. Now the point here is that we will be discussing Indian economy questions, and for that matter I want to highlight here that all the questions which we will be discussing in today's session are from the topic or the micro topic planning. Planning in India, as we know that in the common lingua franca, if we talk about planning, planning is just a exercise in which what we do is we optimize, assess and then allocate resources for efficient results. In the same manner, at our central level or in the decentralized planning, we will see that how India has traveled its way from the pre-British era to the current situation, and with this planning, because UPSC has been asking questions on this topic planning, with this planning how India has been able to achieve its growth from just around 4% or 3% or 2.8% to currently what we assess post-COVID and for the future years 6.8%, or at some point of time India has also achieved a growth rate of 8%. Further, our FDI inflows, our forex reserves have seen enormous growth post-independence along with the reforms which we took in 1991. Now, let's begin the discussion and let's have this journey together from the initial phases of India's economy till current situation or the post-economic survey 2024-2025, which recently came in the month of Feb, and we will see that how Indian economy has traveled and what is the current status of Indian economy. So let's begin the discussion. The question number 1 which UPSC asked, and I have selected this question, is basically from the topic which we are discussing today, that is planning. This question basically asks the students that which of the following are associated with planning in India. The answer to this question is 1. Finance Commission, not this National Development Council, and the Parliament. Per se, these two, the 2 and 5, these are the two institutions at the national level which basically cater to the function of planning of Indian economy. Now, understand this in a holistic perspective, that why do we plan and why UPSC is asking such questions. Because planning is not just a simple task which could be done in a closed room. Rather, it's a function on which various economists have drafted plans, various politicians, you can say our famous leader M.N. Roy, who gave the concept of Constituent Assembly for India, he demanded this first time. He also made a people's plan. Jawaharlal Nehru, M. Vishweshwaraya, all of these economists and the leaders of our nation have emphasized on the concept of planning and how much important this planning is in Indian perspective. Now, in India, what we see, there are per se in planning, there are 3 types of plans which I have discussed over here, just 3: imperative, indicative and rolling plans. Imperative planning, in this type of planning, what we do is the centralized authority basically frames the plans for the whole nation, and we followed this till the 7th 5-year plan. Post that, we shifted to indicative planning, which is more sort of a like market-led planning and decentralized planning. Rather than fixing the targets at the central level, what we do is we prospect and we take the inputs and assess our plans as per the market-led demands and market-led growth. Now, that is the difference between imperative and indicative planning. Indicative planning was first time adopted by France. Further, I wish to highlight here that all the points which we will be discussing today are important for your exam. Why? Because these points have been researched and well articulated and interlinked with PYQs. So these questions and these topics and these points which we'll be discussing today are highly linked to the options of the questions which UPSC has asked, to the, you can say, the further assessment or further enlarging or deepening the knowledge which UPSC rightly points out in its syllabus, that the candidates should have a breadth of knowledge and a depth of knowledge. Both these things have been covered in these slides. Now, let's continue our discussion. Third is our rolling plan. The concept of these rolling plans was given by Gunnar Myrdal, and this rolling plan was first introduced and accepted by the Janata government in its 5th 5-year plan, which actually started in 1977 to 1978. Now, that is whole about the basics about the planning. In India, what we see, the evolution of planning began from 1934. In 1934, we see that M. Vishveshwaraya plan came up, which basically talked about the planned economy of India, a book which was written by M. Vishveshwaraya, and he gave the plan and he emphasized on his conceptual, on his theory, he emphasized on this thing that what we need to do is we need to shift our policies from agriculture towards more industrialization. And that thing you will be noticing that today also we are focusing on industry, and UPSC recently in one of its questions, in these slides only we will be discussing this, asked this thing, and you need to have that presence of mind to solve these questions. And how UPSC asked the question was just an option that Indian economy has witnessed a massive or enormous growth in agriculture, but pause over there, has a student or had a student been well aware of the fact that Indian economy before independence has been shifting from agriculture to industry, he would have known this thing, that this statement per se is false, without even knowing the numbers, without even analyzing the numbers from past 100 years. Understood? Very well. That is how basics will help you to cater the questions which will be upcoming in UPSC 2025 prelims. Now, that is one thing. Second, after 1935, there came up this Congress plan, which was basically framed by the Congress Planning Committee, and this planning committee was headed under the chairmanship of Jawaharlal Nehru. Further, after this, we saw in 1944, Acharya Shriman Narayan drafted an plan which is known as the Gandhian plan. In 1944, this plan basically talked about decentralization and also emphasized on the village and cottage industries. It also led to economic decentralization. It talked about these things so that the growth will trickle down. But remember, the trickle down concept will come up in our these 5-year plans later on, so that the growth will trickle down to those sections which are yet not prosperous enough. That is Gandhian plan. Further, in 1945, M.N. Roy gave us the concept of people's plan, gave us a people's plan, the draft of this people's plan. Basically, the essence of it was to stabilize and balance the growth of both agriculture and industry. Third thing. And lastly, we need to know the Sarvodaya plan, which was drafted by Jai Prakash Narayan ji, and they basically in this plan, they highlighted the need for Indian economy to focus on agriculture, small cottage industries, and indigenization of technology and adopting more indigenous technology in India, developing towards technology. So that was the plan history or the planning history of India. The main point which was asked in this question by UPSC was this NDC, National Development Council, which was established in 1952. Along with this, we also need to know about the Planning Commission. These two, both of these are non-statutory, non-constitutional bodies. They were both established by an executive order. Further, you need to know that after the Planning Commission, which stopped its functioning in 2015 and was transformed into Niti Aayog. The Niti Aayog itself is a body which is executive in nature, a non-statutory and a non-constitutional body. Further, just a small information about this NDC can suffice your needs, or a question which most probably could be asked is, what were the main objectives of this National Development Council and Planning Commission? Planning Commission basically dealt with the objectives which are mentioned in our preamble, in our directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights. It basically tried to achieve those objectives of social and economic growth and social and economic justice which is mentioned in preamble. It actually worked for that. Planning Commission, as long as it functioned, was chaired by the then Prime Minister. Further, Joseph Stalin, I want all of you to remember that this 5-year plan scheme of 5-year plans was first implemented by Joseph Stalin in 1928 and in the Soviet Union. That was the first implementation of these plans. Iske baad, what we need to know is about Niti Aayog. Why? Because Niti Aayog was asked by UPSC in one of its PYQs. All of these questions are PYQs. As you know that the name of the series is Prelims through PYQs. So what we will do is, we will analyze UPSC in the lens of PYQs. Now, the question asks, the government of India has established Niti Aayog to replace what? What will Niti Aayog replace? Planning Commission, as we discussed अभी discussion किया था हमने. Niti Aayog के establishment का main reason ही यही था that it will replace Planning Commission. So D was the answer. But again, what we need to do is, we need to remember some points about Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is a non-constitutional, non-statutory executive body. It is chairperson or chaired by Prime Minister. The vice chairperson is appointed by Prime Minister. 2 points. Third, Niti Aayog has a CEO who is appointed by Prime Minister. This CEO holds a rank of secretary level. There are 4 ex officio members in this body. These 4 are 4 union ministers. There are some full-time members who are experts in economic policy and planning. There are some special invitees from diverse backgrounds and different areas of schema who have mastery in their own fields. That's it about Niti Aayog's composition. But objectives of Niti Aayog, first is to formulate the policy and economic program framework for the nation. Second, to establish and see how cooperative and competitive federalism can be established in India. Third, monitoring and evaluation of all of these plans. Think tank and knowledge hub or the knowledge innovation hub is one more dimension of Niti Aayog. The governing council is a body under Niti Aayog which is constituent of the chief ministers of all the states and lieutenant governors of all the union territories. There are some regional councils also functioning under the Niti Aayog. These regional councils have a group of states, their CMs, and if under this group or this regional council, if there comes a UT, the lieutenant governor of that UT will be the member of this regional council also. This regional council is chaired by Prime Minister or any other person who will be nominated by Prime Minister to that position. That is about Niti Aayog, which we should be remembering. Done. Now, coming to the 5-year plans of India. First question which we will be dealing with is the 12th 5-year plan. This 12th 5-year plan, it asks the students, the question asks, what was the main objective of the 12th 5-year plan? Now, before we go deeper into these plans, or just if you see that, it is just the theme of this 12th 5-year plan which you need to know to answer this question. So that you need to also have a key idea that how much deep can you go while you are preparing this planning section and these 5-year plans. From 1st to 12th, we have 12 5-year plans. We have had 12 5-year plans, and after that, we stopped this 5-year plan scheme. Now, understanding the question, we just saw what is the main objective. Was it inclusive growth, sustainable and inclusive growth to reduce unemployment, or was it faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth? What was the answer of this question? That we will deal with later, but remember one thing, we need to cover all the 5-year plans. On these 3 slides, upcoming 3 slides, what you will be dealing with is main key points which you should remember about these 5-year plans. Okay, we'll go through in a bit faster way so that we completely understand the essence of these plans. Now understand. First 5-year plan came in 1951 to 1956. I'll be telling you a story along with this so that you remember it in a better way. First 5-year plan 1951-1956. Under this plan, the growth which was to be achieved, or the target growth, was 2.1%, and we overachieved the target to 3.6%. This plan was based on Harrod-Domer model. There was an economist named K.N. Raj who helped in the drafting of this plan. This plan basically talked about and emphasized on decreasing the food import subsistence, or you can say that the import substitution, food import substitution was the main essence of this program, of this plan, that we need to decrease our dependence on the food imports from West, which later will create a crisis for India in 1990s. So from 1951 till 1990s, India has been working on this, but still we will see that till 1991 we still had this thing that, okay, what we need to do more. Later we will see that how we adopted to green revolution because of all of this crisis which was created by this import dependence of food material or food grains from the West, particularly PL 480. Second 5-year plan was from 1956 to 1961. One more thing which you need to remember and keep a note of this, that these years, these 5 years, you need to remember that what were the key events. For example, in this third 5-year plan, what we saw was a Unit Trust of India, Industrial Development Bank of India, FCI and Agricultural Price Commission 1965. These were established. And in one of the questions, UPSC asked that arrange these things in chronological order, in which there was one option. The question could have been asked by analyzing the trend in these questions, in these slides. That was the 5-year plans. The question was about the establishment of State Bank of India, nationalization of 14 banks, and the Emergency and 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Basically, the question was an interlink of economy, polity and the post-independence reforms in India. We will not be taking that question because that question is a multi-sectoral question or multi-dimensional question in nature. We will be basically dealing with planning only. I just got that question hit so that you remember that how we need to analyze each of these plans and understand that what were the key impact or these key improvements, key objectives or key achievements or per se key initiatives which we have taken in these 5 years, so that we arrange them in chronological order and we remember that what were the reforms in the post-independence era of India. One more thing, second 5-year plan also, like the first 5-year plan, could not achieve the target growth, but the actual growth of this second 5-year plan was 4.27%. This is based on Nehru-Mahalanobis model. It basically focused on rapid industrialization, self-reliance, and remember this. See, I'll show you that how UPSC plays with your answers and with your questions. Remember this, that second 5-year plan had emphasis on heavy capital goods. It placed emphasis on trickle-down effects, which we recently saw. In the 5-year plan, which was adopted by M.N. Roy and later on by M. Vishveshwaraya, or the Janata government, which took to the rolling plans also for the non-prosperous sections to have the effects of, to have the benefits of development. Second 5-year plan emphasized on the trickle down effect. It emphasized on heavy capital goods and heavy capital machinery. It also emphasized on India's self-reliance, which we still focus on through the agenda of Atmanirbharta. Done. Third 5-year plan was basically based on the S. Chakravarti model. India was on the track to achieve the self-reliance and self-governing economy by focusing on agriculture and industry both. This is how first, second and third 5-year plan will change in its objectives. But remember, there is a continuity also, that all the 3 plans or all the 12 plans had this continuity of making India as self-reliant or self-dependent, or what we call Swaraj. Done. In this third 5-year plan, we took these 3 most important steps. However, post third 5-year plan, what happened was actually this plan failed. Why did this plan fail? Because there were some events like 1962 we saw Chinese aggression along LAC. We saw 1965 Indo-Pakistan war, and we also saw the PL 480 food shortage. This is how the planning should have been there. From the first plan, we were focusing on food import dependence, but this crisis hit us in the third 5-year plan and it failed the third 5-year plan. Now, moving further, with this failure, what we introduced was 3 plan or 3 annual plans, which is also known as the plan holiday, under which we introduced the green revolution and we imported high yield variety seeds. We also established the research analysis wing in 1968 to tackle with such events in future. Next, the 5-year plan or the fourth 5-year plan started in 1969 to 1974. Now understand, in this plan what we will do is, we will tackle all the crises or all the shortcomings which we witnessed in these 3 plans. Now what we will do is, we will focus on growth and stability both. We will focus on planning or family planning programs. Why? Because population control was a major headache at that point of time, because food shortage and planning or family planning are interlinked and there was heavy burden of poverty on India. Third, we also focused on to decrease the concentration of wealth. Next, some key initiatives which were taken, the most important ones are 14 banks were nationalized. There was abolition of privy purses, Indo-Pakistan War of 1971, and the focus was on to assist the less prosperous sections more so that they have the equal share in their development, in the development of the nation. Now remember, these 14 bank nationalization, abolition of privy purses and Indo-Pakistan war. These 3 were the 3 options in that question which I discussed with you, that it was basically to arrange this in the chronological order. Done? Chalo, that's it. Next, the 5th 5-year plan. Again, this plan, you need to remember that what we targeted, we overachieved the growth. The main issue with 5-year plan or the main objective of 5-year plan was to eradicate poverty, to achieve self-reliance. Self-reliance has been the continuous feature. Why am I again and again emphasizing on this thing, that what was the continuity in these plans and what were the new objectives in these plans which were introduced, or what were the new pathways which were drafted by these plans, is just to make sure that you remember in your head the story. Why is this story important? Because same, the continuity and change was asked by UPSC multiple times. Whether that is in essay, whether that is in India's foreign policy, whether that is in economy, whether that is in the social justice or the welfare nature of the state of India. Therefore, you need to remember this continuity and change dimensions. 6th 5-year plan, the growth was overachieved. We achieved a 5.7% of growth. The goal was to increase national income and also to modernize India as per the new age technologies. What we introduced and what were the key initiatives which we had taken, we established NABARD, we established Exim Bank, and we also launched the Integrated Rural Development Program. That is 6 5-year plans. We are 6 more to go. Just the 7th one, growth was achieved 6% more than the target. Food grains, employment and social justice were the 3 main objectives of this plan. 7th 5-year plan, we witnessed Blue Revolution, we witnessed Jawahar Rozgar Yojana was launched and Operation Blackboard for education was launched. These green initiatives, just remember them, okay? Because UPSC has been focusing on them. In I guess 3 to 4 questions till date have been focused on these initiatives. Now after 7th 5-year plan, again there came annual plans. Why? Because there was political uncertainty. We saw Forex crisis, and from 1990, 1991, 91, 92, 2 years we took a gap and we introduced annual plans. These annual plans basically coincides with the India's transition towards LPG reforms. The 8th 5-year plan came in 1992 to 1997. This plan basically increased the target to 5.6% of growth, and we achieved a growth rate of 6.7%. This plan was on the basis of Rao-Manmohan model. This Rao-Manmohan model basically talked about globalization, privatization and liberalization of Indian economy. Done. Therefore, we shifted from a centrally planned economy. This is 7th 5-year plan. Till 7th 5-year plan, we followed an imperative planning model. But post 7th 5-year plan, what we have is indicative planning. Remember these 2 points. One more thing, what we did in imperative and indicative planning. Imperative planning, we were a centrally planning organization that we had at center. The central government or the center was planning everything. A top-down approach was being followed through Planning Commission and National Development Council. The Planning Commission had to approve, had to frame the plans, and then National Development Council will approve them, and all of this was happening. But post 7th 5-year plan, what we shifted was towards market-led economy and market-led growth, or the planning as per market demands. This here we shifted to indicative planning. Next, India joined WTO and became an official party to WTO. Our new economic policy framework was launched based on the LPG reforms. Done. 9th 5-year plan. 9th 5-year plan achieved a growth of 5.8%. The growth was to be accompanied by social justice and equalities. It should focus on the financial sector also. The prime focus in 9th 5-year plan was financial sector and integration of Indian economy with the global economy. Okay? So these were the key objectives of 9th 5-year plan. 10th 5-year plan from 2002 to 2007 focused on reducing the poverty. It introduced a 20-point program, and you will see that there was Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan which was launched in this 5-year plan, the 10th 5-year plan. Then the 11th focused on Rangarajan and Dr. Manmohan Singh. These two formulated this 11th 5-year plan. It basically focused on faster and inclusive growth. Again, the question which we, from where we picked up this discussion, asked us that 12th 5-year plan का objective क्या है? The objective inclusive and sustainable growth was for 11th 5-year plan, not the 12th 5-year plan. Rather, if we see, the 12th 5-year plan focused on faster, inclusive and sustainable growth. That is the answer of this question, okay, which was mentioned in the option D. Okay? Faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth. This was the theme of 12th 5-year plan. At last, I'll give a homework. The homework would be that you need to visit this website, and remember to only follow government websites. Check these websites, you will find amazing content. Just a 13-page content. You'll find at the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation's website about these plans, and you will see that in a very crisp manner everything is covered in that document. Done? Chalo. Next question from the 5-year plans only. It said from second 5-year plan there was a determined thrust towards substitution of basic and capital goods industry. We remember, and if you do not remember, just go back, just 2 या 3 मिनट पहले आपको मिल जाएगा that capital goods industry पे focus जो है second 5-year plan से ही शुरू हो गया था. The fourth 5-year plan adopted the objectives of correcting the earlier trends of increased concentration of wealth. Fourth 5-year plan में you will see that we focused on removing the concentration of wealth. We abolished the privy purses also, and economic power or the decentralization of economy was started. In the fifth 5-year plan, for the first time, the financial sector was included as an integral part of the plan. Fifth 5-year plan. This point was mentioned in 9th 5-year plan, not the 5th 5-year plan. The integration or an integral part of plan was financial sector. This financial sector, emphasis on financial sector was laid only after the Rao Manmohan model, or only after the economic reform policy, the new economic reform policy which was introduced in 1991. Post that we focused on financial sector. Till that time we were focusing on agriculture, industry, capital goods. Done? So with this you need to remember that third option does not correspond to this question. Rather 1 and 2 are correct. Next question talks about demographic dividend. This demographic dividend term was asked by UPSC in prelims, as you can see, but remember that this was asked by UPSC in mains multiple times. Now again, if this term is this much important, how deep should we go and complete and understand the term first? What is the meaning of this term? That is what UPSC is asking us. Second, how much deep should we know about demographic dividend of India at present times, so that we can tackle questions and we can quote that data or those figures or those initiatives which are taken by the government of India to achieve the benefits of demographic dividend in our mains. Now understanding these, all the plethora of things which I mentioned, just how we will do it, just going through these slides. Now understand, to obtain full benefits of demographic dividend, what India should do? India should promote skill development. An answer which anybody can give if he has a bit of understanding about the syllabus of UPSC. But what we need to do more is this, that we need to understand that how we can use this term demographic dividend and how much deep should we go in analyzing this term. Demographic dividend window for you and for our economy started or opened in 2005 to 2055-56. This time period from 2005 to 2056 shall be that time period in which India's productive age will be at its peak. The dependency ratio will be less. Working age population will be around 68%. Therefore, the working age population can produce, the 70% of the population can produce, they can generate wealth, they can generate income, and can help India to grow faster in its growth and developmental prospects. Second, India's dependency ratio in 2030 shall be only 31%. That is, the 70% of the economy shall be dependent, or only 30% of the population of India shall be dependent on 70% of the population. Okay. The 30% or the 30% you can say dependency ratio, you must understand that these are the 3 facts which you can use to quote in your mains, just to substantiate this thing, that you know that how India can achieve the benefits of this window of demographic dividend. But how can we achieve this? If our working age population, will it by itself or by default happen that this population can help us in achieving the targets of growth? No. Why? Because if you see 49% of our population, of our graduates, which are graduating every year from our institutions, do not have market-ready skills. They still do not have market-ready skills to get adapted and to start producing for the economy. Rather, what we should do to obtain benefits of demographic dividend of this working age population, what we should do, we should help them promote through skills. We should promote skill development. How we can promote skill development is by focusing, by making people aware about these initiatives like the National Policy on Skill Development, the Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which was launched in 2015, in which currently, if you see by financial year 24, we have enrollment of 52.3% women under this skill development scheme. We also have some craftsman training scheme. This craftsman training scheme, what it does is it basically deals with ITIs, NSTIs and the data related to skill development. Further, we have Jan Shikshan Sansthans. These are those organizations which provide skills to neo-literates and non-literates. They upgrade the skills, they upskill and they help people in achieving more skills for the market readiness and for industry readiness. We have National Apprenticeship Promotion Program, Skill India Digital Hub Program, under which some more, you can say that market demanded skills are provided. The credits are given and the credit or the finance is given. The employment is given with AI and use of machine learning also. Now, remember, what you need to do is you just need to search about these 4 initiatives more and prepare them with just half a page of note. Once you prepare them, you are done with your prelims. Now, why should we do this? Why should we achieve the benefits of demographic dividend? Or why was this demographic dividend, or how can we achieve this demographic dividend, or how was this achieved? Because the fertility rate of India has declined and we have seen the total fertility rate of India declining to 2.0%, which is the replacement rate. Okay, fertility replacement currently ratio is 2.0%, while in 1951 it was 5.9%, or sorry, it is 2.0 per woman in her lifetime and it was 5.9 in the lifetime of a woman, that how many number of children she can bear or she can reproduce. Currently it is just 2.0. The life expectancy has increased to 70 years. The infant mortality rate and child mortality rate has decreased, and you can see that below 5 mortality in India is just 35 per 1000 live births. Further, what are the benefits of this? Our growth will increase, we will have lower dependency ratio, our savings will increase. जितनी हमारी savings बढ़ेगी उतना हमारे banks और financial institutions के through money ज़्यादा circulate होगा, वो money multiplier का concept लगेगा वहाँ पे, और then what will happen is the money will keep growing, it will make more money and then we will see more growth. Savings will lead to investment and investment will lead to growth, and then we will see the benefits of trickle down theory. Capital formation, again capital formation, it is not just the you can say financial capital, but it is also the human capital, it is the social capital, which UPSC already has asked questions about. Entrepreneurship will increase. India recently has been declared as 3rd largest startup ecosystem after USA and China. Done. That is how we should deal with the demographic dividend. Further, lastly, our recent initiatives about demographic dividend. First, India recently launched the skill loan scheme. This skill loan scheme is basically for industry skill development. Financial loans under this scheme are given from 1.5 lakh to 7.5 lakh rupees to upskill, to upgrade the skills and achieve more skills for industry readiness. The World Youth Skill Day was recently celebrated. India is also celebrating 10 years of Skill India mission. Okay. India has launched also the Kaushal Samvad, under which the youth are basically made aware of the facts of skill development and the new initiatives of the government. We have NSDC partnerships, and this organization, National Skill Development Corporation, has partnered with multiple universities and institutions across the globe so that the people belonging to aspirational districts or people belonging to low skill community shall have skills, and they can go and achieve new age skills in artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and much more. In 2021, Skill Impact Bond was launched. This is something which is important. This Skill Impact Bond, what it will do is that this Skill Impact Bond is basically based on the Development Impact Bond 99. So the basic formula is that this bond can be floated in the market, and all the people who want to fund or who want funds, they can float the bond, and the funds should be for what? For skill development. So the private organizations, they can either purchase the bond or they can float the bond. They can, you can say, source funds from the market for what? To finance the initiatives for skill development. Done? Further, you can see that India's or Skill India International Centers, we have 30 plus such centers. Indian government has signed MOUs for recognition of Indian qualifications to other nations. For example, Australia, Britain, and per se the European countries have now recently started recognizing the Indian qualifications and Indian skills so that our workforce can go abroad and start working there. NSDC International Limited was established in 2021 for such, you can say, we can say that to faster and to help these MOUs work better and to establish a framework across nations at international level so that our skill development will prosper. The main objective was to have the benefits of demographic dividend. Why should we have the benefits of demographic dividend, or why should we have benefits of demographic dividend? Is because we want our economy to grow. We want this working age population, which is our only window to prosper by 2056. We want to harness all the benefits of this demographic dividend. Lastly, we have one more question, and after this we have the last question. This question is about Finance Commission. We all know that Finance Commission, basically Article 280, and this article provides for the President of India to establish this Finance Commission for what? To recommend the, you can say that, financial measures which our country, our government should take. For these financial measures should be taken for what? In order to achieve growth, in order to distribute the revenues which are collected by center to states, and to recommend the grants which central government should give to states for the development. Or this is the only linchpin which we can say that it is the financial linchpin between center and states. Now, remember, the question asks that it has increased the share of states in the central divisible pool. The 14th Finance Commission has increased the share of states in central divisible pool from 32% to 42%. This was the prime recommendation which was at 14th Finance Commission recommendations. Once they came up in 2015, there was a massive scale of news which came up only because of the drastic measure which it recommended that states का जो share है वो 32% से बढ़ा के 42% कर दिया जाए. However, remember that it has recommended or it made recommendations for sector specific grants. These sector specific grants were recommended by 13th Finance Commission and then 15th Finance Commission. So now what we need to do, the year 2016, I guess this question was asked in, the year when this question was asked, today we have 16th Finance Commission coming up, which we will be reading about in April 2020, this October 2025 में 16th Finance Commission का recommendation आ जाएगा. But उससे पहले what we need to do is, we need to remember and read about 15th Finance Commission. Prior to that, we should also know about 14th Finance Commission. Why? Because in this question also, you should be knowing that how much should we cover. Question 14th Finance Commission का था, but options में 13th Finance Commission का option था. Therefore, UPSC does play this trick. तो आपको एक साल जो पहले फाइनेंस कमीशन आया था, आज इस साल जो अभी 5 साल का फाइनेंस कमीशन अब आएगा, और इसके बाद जो 17th फाइनेंस कमीशन आएगा, the 14th, 15th and 16th, 3 finance commissions should be dealt with, because currently we have the recommendations of 15th finance commission which are actually in work. 14th का हमें knowledge होना चाहिए, and 16th का we should be knowing about that. When the recommendations will come, we should read about that also. Now, answer was A, obviously. Why? Because second option is about, or the second statement is about 13th Finance Commission. Understanding the 15th Finance Commission, which was chaired by N.K. Singh. This Finance Commission basically recommended to decrease this share of 42%, which was recommended by 14th Finance Commission, to 41%, and the 1% which was cut from all the states should go to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, which was and Ladakh. Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh दोनों UTs के लिए वो 1% निकाल के दे दिया गया था. Done. The criteria for devolution under 15th Finance Commission included the parameters of income distance, area of that state, population of that state as per 2011 census. Remember, 2011 census. Demographic performance of that state, that how much effective has been the policies of that state to control the population at the state level. Forest and ecology, this is one of the main important point which you should be remembering, that Finance Commission also took in cognizance that how much development has been on the environmental prospect, that forest and ecology में कितना growth हुआ है किसी state में, उसी हिसाब से उसको grants दे दी जाए. Tax and fiscal reforms के ऊपर कितना काम किया है किसी state ने, anything or any development or tax efficiency को लेके, how much has the state worked on tax efficiency, fiscal reforms, that thing had been given a 2.5% weightage, while the criteria of devolution of grants was recommended by 15th Finance Commission. This criteria of devolution is important, its chairman is important, and the recommendation of 42 to 41% is important. The 1% shall go to the UT of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Done. One more thing. 15th Finance Commission recommended grants. How many kinds of grants? Revenue deficit grant, sector specific grants, state specific grants, grants to local bodies, and disaster management grants. Remember, because UPSC asked about these grants. Fiscal roadmap was drafted by 15th Finance Commission. This fiscal roadmap talked about how much fiscal deficit we should control, what should be the level of government debt at central level, at national level, and the debt level of central government compared to the total debt of the country. Revenue mobilization, that how Indian government should mobilize more revenue and how it should reform its cess, surcharge and taxation. There were recommendations about GST and the reforms which were introduced by GST. So that is all about 15th Finance Commission. Now upcoming is 16th Finance Commission, which is chaired by currently S. Arvind Panagadia. This commission, iski jo recommendations आएंगी, the report shall be available by October 2025 and the recommendations shall apply by 1st of the April 2026. Done. Now remember, 2 points. One more thing which you should remember is terms of reference for this 16th Finance Commission, that what it should refer to and what it should tackle while it is recommending the grants or while it is recommending the scheme or mechanism of devolution. What are the main terms which it should take care of? There are 4 terms. One is the distribution of revenues between union and states. How much distribution should be there? Should it be 42% of the total revenue which is collected, or 41%, or it shall increase or decrease? Second, What are the main grant in aid principles which should be followed? The grant should be of revenue, state, or for local bodies, or for disaster management. Third, it will also recommend the measures which are needed to augment the consolidated fund of states for the better financing of municipalities and Panchayati Raj institutions. Lastly, remember this point, that how to augment and how to finance the disaster resilience, or how to finance the disaster management under the Disaster Management Act 2005. That's it. Okay? Basics we have already dealt with. Remember, Finance Commission is a quasi-judicial body. Which of the following have occurred in India after liberalization? Liberalization 1991. Liberalization के बाद क्या क्या हुआ है इंडिया में? The share of agriculture in GDP has increased enormously. Share of agriculture in GDP has not increased enormously but has decreased. As you can see that agriculture share in economy currently hovers around 18%. The growth rate of agriculture should be remembered from financial year 27, from 17, financial year 17 to 23, that is the 5 financial years. Our growth rate for the past 5 years has been 5% at stretch, average, not constantly growing, not consistently 5%, but average 5% growth rate, average growth rate has been 5%. 1 point second, agricultural income has increased by 5.23% annually in past 1 decade. That is the 2 data points which you should remember. One is that average agricultural growth has been around 5% in past 5 years. In past 1 decade, we have seen a 5% annual growth in agricultural income. Second, UPSC asked, the share of India's exports in world trade has increased. Yes, India's exports in world trade have increased. How much percent? Enormously or excessively has increased? Nothing such is mentioned in this option. This is a plain statement which talks about that just the increase in exports has been there. Yes, it could be. FDI inflows in India has increased. Yes, it has increased. Not only since liberalization, but continuously. If you see in the past 1 or 2 years, the growth has been enormous. Those are 2023 to 2025, the growth has been significant. And if you see from 2000 to 2023, from 2000 to 2023, we have seen a net FDI inflow of around $1 trillion US. India's foreign exchange reserves have increased enormously. India's foreign exchange reserves have increased enormously. Yes, recently they touched a mark of $7 billion US. Therefore, 2, 3 and 4, 3 statements are correct. Exports in India from 2023 to 2024 have increased and exports have been around $700 billion. The growth in exports from 2013 to 2023 has been 67%. India's export sector has witnessed the resilient and has been deeply integrated into global economy. Now remember, this point or this statement that India's economy has been resilient in the past 5 years or past decade, past 10 years, and has witnessed deep integration into global economy. This statement in itself is an extreme statement. That is why I put this here. What you need to do is you need to remember this statement. Why? Because if you see such extreme statements in your exam center, you may think that itna zyada nahi ho sakta hai. This is exaggeration by UPSC. But that is not the case. This is from a government document only by Ministry of Finance only, which highlighted this deep integration of Indian economy into global economy. One more thing, India's foreign FDI, foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment, remember in budget 2025, this FDI has been increased in insurance sector from 74% cap, the cap has been removed, and now insurance sector under automatic route comes to 100%. The investment sectoral investment or the sectoral cap on insurance sector has been removed, and 100% FDI in insurance sector has been allowed in 2025 budget. The investment friendliness index for states shall be released and shall be launched by the union government soon. Union government will also bring the Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 this year, so that we develop the environment of trust, we develop the environment of growth, and ease of business or ease of doing business shall be established in India, so that the growth and the you can say the investment across the globe or the foreign direct investment shall come to India. Now one more point, currently if you see all the FDI in all the sectors, 90% of the FDI in all the sectors which has been allowed is under automatic route. This also is a statement which you should remember. 90% of the FDI in all the sectors comes under automatic route. There shall be a high level committee which will be formulated, and this shall recommend the regulatory reforms which shall be necessary for India's business environment. $1 trillion, the FDI of $1 trillion has been achieved, or the mark of $1 trillion has been achieved since 2002-2025. India's forex reserves have touched a mark of $704 billion in September 2024, but post that it decreased to 600 again. However, we have seen enormous growth in our forex reserves. Our forex reserves currently can cover 90% of India's external debt and can help us to sustain 10 months of import cover. ठीक है? जबकि in 1991 when the reserves were in crisis, at that point of time what we witnessed was that we had the forex cover for just only 1 week. Last May, the question is about the term sterilization. It is by RBI. RBI does the sterilization of the money supply and market economy by doing open market operations, in which RBI does two things. One is, in the domestic sector, it sells government securities. By the sale and purchase of government securities, RBI supplies more money into market and it sucks out the excess liquidity in the from the market. Second, RBI also manages, or you can say that regulates the exchange rate under the dirty marketing, or you can say that dirty floating, or you can say that free floating or mixed floating exchange rate, under which RBI sells dollars in the market and RBI purchases dollars in the market whenever it assumes or whenever it predicts that Indian rupee is witnessing a downfall in comparison to dollar. So the term sterilization is about open market operations. With this, we conclude today's discussion. I hope this was full of information and this will help you a lot in your prelims, upcoming prelims 2025, for which I wish you all the best. Jai Hind.